Hey, what's going on, guys? Kaufman is Live YouTube channel. I look at comic books new and old. Today I'm looking at a new comic book, Uncanny X-Men number 2, legacy number 702. If you're down with the legacy numbering, this is the newest issue of Uncanny X-Men, written by Gail Simone. David Marquez is the artist. Matthew Wilson's on the colors. They're also on the cover here. Kind of an intriguing cover. Who are the outliers? We saw these characters show up at the end of the first issue, so we really know nothing about them. So in this issue, we find out a little bit more about them, although still a lot of questions lingering by the end of this issue. We actually start with a journal entry from Charles Xavier here, which is kind of interesting. And by the end of this comic, we learn that he is being held captive by Dr. Ellis in the Gray Malkin Institute, which is the former Xavier Institute for gifted youngsters that's now been taken over and turned into a mutant prison. And this story, at the beginning, we're just learning about Charles' first love before he met Moira or anybody else. And this woman is trying to get his help to get something out of a tree. And she nudges up against them here and then says, after doing something like that, you got to buy a girl a drink. So after she's just up one side of you and down the other, she said. So basically, coercing Xavier to take her out, buy her a drink. We get the Uncanny X-Men data page here, showing the whole team. Got question marks for all the new characters here, but apparently they are X-Men. They're listed under the team of X-Men here, so. And this is Red Wave Part 2. It says, there was a before, there will be an after. So I don't know what the red wave is, but we're in part 2 of it right now. So we've got the X-Men here. They're in the forests. They're in Louisiana at a place called Haven, which is kind of where their makeshift home is right now. We've got Rogue and Gambit and Wolverine here. They got the Eye of Agamotto from the first issue, from this dragon that they came across. And also, in reference to the last issue, they visited this kid who had cancer who actually died right in front of their arms after having like this psionic attack. So it was kind of a traumatic experience for all of them. So, and then they met up with these kids in the woods who just seem lost and they don't know where they are. And one of them kind of bucks up to Wolverine here, which isn't smart. We get the narration throughout this whole issue from Rogue's perspective. And I think Gail Simone really does a good job of getting the voices right on characters like Rogue and Gambit and Wolverine. They all have very distinct personalities and voices, and she does a good job of writing that here in this book. But like I said, they got the Eye of Agamotto here, and it's kind of the object that's used for a plot device in this book. It just kind of goes off while they're trying to talk to these kids, and it kind of forces a conflict between this new group and the current X-Men. So they kind of all start fighting each other. This one character says that their mama told them that mutants were all goblins. We learn that there's a couple characters that, or at least one, is not actually a mutant. And obviously there's a very huge anime influence here in this comic and in the artwork, as you can see. So I think Marvel's really trying to lean into a manga style to sell books, and they're doing it in kind of both the X-Men titles, I feel like. So we see Dr. Ellis here. She's got this captain of hers who's subservient to her. They're in the danger room. He says, do you want us to dismantle it? And she's like, no, we can probably use it, which is smart. We get more of Xavier on his date here with this woman. He's kind of shy about his bald head. And then we see this character who's been brought to Dr. Ellis. We're not sure who's bringing her these mutants, but we do find out a little bit later in this issue. But they've got Siren here, who is a member of X-Force. She's basically got like psionic voice powers like Banshee. And Dr. Ellis is kind of convincing her, trying to convince her at least to work with her, which is in line with Siren's character. Previously in X-Force comics, she's been in an insane asylum. She's pretty easily manipulated, so we see, I like this little panel here of Rogue's eyes. They're really good. She's battling this character who, this is the one that's actually not a mutant. So I'm assuming maybe she's Asgardian. She's riding a horse. She seems like a Valkyrie or something. But the Wolverine and all the X-Men, they get the best of these kids. Jubilee shows up. She puts an end to this conflict here. It's the first time we've seen Jubilee in this book. She was in the Free Comic Book Day Uncanny X-Men. We saw her trying to find out where the X-Men are at this point. And Rogue's kind of figuring out that this kind of ragtag group of X-Men is all that's left at this point. And they're going to try to talk to these kids, see if they can all get on the same page, basically. Gambit says he'll go talk to the kids if he can get a kiss, of course. She says he needs to keep it in his pants. And she says, I'm talking about the amulet. So we find out that this one kid, he's got these like his name is Death Dream, but he's got these like dream powers where he can dream up horrible things that apparently come to life. But Wolverine smells like this weird stink of death on him specifically. So we learn all their names here. This is Jitter, Ransom, Death Dream, and Calico. And she's the one who's not a mutant, she says. And they're all from kind of different parts of the world, too. And they don't even really know why they're here, but they've been being hunted by some character. So in X-Men number 3 by Jed MacKay, Ryan Stegman, we saw Cyclops on the phone with Rogue. And we get this other end of the conversation here. And Rogue's trying to reach out to other mutants. And Cyclops is actually the only one that picked up the phone. And he's telling her to stand down. But she's got other plans. And that's when she says, we're all the X-Men now. We're all that's left, it seems. And that's when Jitter tells Wolverine that they're being hunted by somebody. And Jitter's surprised Wolverine doesn't know who it is yet. And we see on the final page who it is. It's this horror-looking character. And she's the one hunting all these mutants, delivering them to Dr. Ellis. We see the mutant from the last issue with the deer horns being dropped off here. We see her named Sarah. So definitely a creepy story we got going on here, with a lot of questions still about what's going on. So we get an X-Mail page, letters from the fans, and one of the fans brings up in here about how when you have a big like sea change like this in the X-Men books post like the Krakoan era and trying to go into like this new era of X-Men, for lack of a better word, it's either a good jumping off point or a good jumping on point. So, and you know, I was a big fan of the Krakoan era, so for me, I'm kind of caught in between. I'm not really sure if I want to jump off yet. You know, this is a $4.99 comic book. It's actually only got about 19 pages of story in this book, and there's, you know, 3 pages of credits and the X mentions page as well. Let me see if I can find that again. Where is it in here? Yeah, these 2 pages as well. So if you add the credits in these 2 pages, it's a 22-page book, but that's $4.99. I understand making the first issue $4.99, but second issue still, and at only 19 pages, not my favorite sort of practice, and not really sure if I can honestly recommend this book. I do kind of like the storyline going on. It's got some interesting plot threads for sure, and I do like some of the character interactions. But I just got to give it kind of a slight recommendation, I feel like. Not a solid recommendation. So thanks again for watching the video. If you like videos like this, please subscribe, and I'll see you guys tomorrow.